Here we have 7 Earth Day crafts for kids. First, let's look at some cookie cutter copycat crafts as I usually do. I like to show you the different ways I see online how people make cookie cutter and copycat crafts, and then I like to show you how we can make Earth Day crafts in a more creative, developmentally appropriate. And let's start with some sticks and stones sculptures. So we have these sticks and rocks from the earth. It's good to get the smoother rocks, and now we're going to paint them and then make sculptures with them. So I started with this 4.5-year-old young man who is painting the rocks and the sticks that he is choosing. Putting them on the side, and then I get a couple of 3-year-olds and another 4.5-year-old, and as you could see, the paint is not staying clean, but that's fine. They're having a good time painting their sticks and rocks. Now, I started by allowing this 4.5-year-old to use the glue gun himself with gloves. So he's creating a sculpture with his gloves. He wanted to put the stone in the middle, and then he realized that he needs something to put that stone on top of. So he actually created his sculpture by putting pieces across, and he had somewhere to then paste his stone. Then I really ended up doing the gluing myself because the gloves got a little clumsy, but here are those 2 sculptures, and now they're here on a piece of styrofoam for display. Now we go into making some kind of demo of a world. So I'm using coffee filters and liquid watercolors, and I'm just using some green and some brown. I didn't even dilute them. You can dilute them because sometimes they get very strong. It also lasts longer when you dilute them. Now, if I'm using the coffee filter, it has to be on top of a paper because whatever you're going to paint on top of, it's pretty thin, the coffee filter, and it just goes right through. So here you just give them a brush, a water, or 2 brushes, and when they're just going to paint the green and the blue, and it doesn't turn muddy, since blue and green are not opposites on the color wheel of each other, it's not going to turn muddy even if they do it on top of it. So however they're going to do it, it's going to end up looking somewhat like a world. When they're finished, you can give them paper to cut up, and they can make people and houses and trees and cut them and paste them. You could put this on another piece of construction paper once it's all dry, and then they can have their world on top of the coffee filter. Okay, now I have a couple of activities that use leaves and trees and outdoor things. These were videos that I used in other for other things. So you will see, for example, you see fall leaves. It's not fall when I'm doing it now and during Earth Day. So this is just leaf people. So you take all sizes, depending where you are in the world and what kind of leaves you can get. And then you give them, after they glue it down, you give them different things to create their leaves. Googly eyes, craft sticks, pom-poms, anything you need to make leaf people. Then we have leaf collages. If you have good leaves, then you can just rip them off and make a collage with the good leaves. You could use a glue stick. You can use regular glue. Now, if you don't have, you see those brown ones are more like a wintry kind of leaves, which we have here. So what you can do is you can crumple them up. You can give them like a picture of a leaf, or they could make their own. And then they just crumple it and glue it on. So it's more like a leaf crumble collage. Then we have tree collages. Tree collages, I've done this with various different themes and holidays. So you cut up different trunks with different colors. You give them pictures of leaves and then materials that they can use to create all their different kinds of trees, sequins and pieces of paper and ribbons and gems. And here I have just two examples of what two young children, how they created their trees. Then we could make placemats with nature. So you can do this with spring. You can do this so many different times of the year. You need contact paper and you peel off. You can either do like I'm doing here, you do half of it. See, that's too heavy, so I took that part off. They put all of the different things from outdoors, from the earth outside, and then you peel it over, and there you have a placemat. Now what you can do, you can trim it and you can put it on top of a piece of construction paper. You could tape it there or staple it all around. Or if you want, you can just take a piece of contact paper, put the construction paper down, and then put all of your nature things around it, and then cover it over with a piece of contact paper. Now, the last thing we have are sun catchers, which is very similar to the placemats in that we're using contact paper. You can use a plate, cut it out as I showed you, take a piece of contact paper, cut it to fit, and then you put it on top of the plate, and then they just add all of their nature things on top of the contact paper. And then when you finish, you just put another piece of paper on top, and then you add a hole. You can punch a hole, or as I end up doing is it with a scissors, and then they can hang it, and you put it near a window where it's catching the sun, and it's called sun catchers. Now here I allowed the children to use markers to finish it up, and here is a finished sun catchers. If you're interested in finding more about creative crafts, specifically how to move from cookie cutter to creative, see me at eduartforkids.com.